What's going on? All right, so no, today is not a huge heavy news update episode. Today we actually want to talk about the Xbox One X again, as well as exclusives. Not really what's coming to the system, but there was a question that's been posed to me recently by one of my colleagues, and there was an interesting article written on IGN recently about the Xbox and its first-party offering and how the problem can be fixed. And so the question was posed to me: Xbox One X or more exclusives? If you had the opportunity to have say in what Microsoft's next move would be prior to them announcing the Xbox One X, and they gave you the option of saying, or of the option of choosing a more powerful hardware or more exclusives, and we'll get into those exclusives that are more or less hypotheticals, but if you had that opportunity to have say in that, what would you choose? So I wanted to look at a list of games that I personally just comprised from my own biased, subjective view on what games I think are really cool, what games I think should be fostered and brought over to the Xbox, what should be a sequel. And so we're going to talk about those things, all right? The question was posed to me: Derrick, how do you feel about the new Xbox One X? Are you excited about it? Are you going to pick it up at launch? You know, what's your take on it? You know, you work in the industry, you write and all that good stuff for Game Insider. What's your take on the Xbox One X? Should I get the system? So I've spoken with certain friends. I have a colleague that posed a question to me about exclusives or a new more powerful system. So for starters, let me answer the question about whether or not I'm going to get an Xbox One X, because I've been asked that question a lot, and I've been quite evasive. And I'll say this: right now, would I pay $500 to buy an Xbox One X? Okay, at this very moment, come November 7th, when the system launches, no, I won't be spending my own money to buy an Xbox One X. Now, that does not mean that I'm not excited about the hardware. I am truly excited about the Xbox One X, but at the moment, it's being positioned as an enhancement machine. Now, we know the system is more powerful than any other console ever to come to the market to date. Okay, a lot of PlayStation fanboys are rejoicing with every news update that comes out that talks about the system using checkerboard for certain games, or certain games not at 4K 60, they're more 4K 30 and what have you. That's not really something to be excited about. The Xbox One X is a beast of a system, and for those hardcore Xbox gamers, and if that's the only system you game on, and you currently have an Xbox One, I would recommend that you upgrade. If you loved Gears of War 4, rocking this shirt, no doubt. If you loved Halo 5 and all the games that are exclusive on the Xbox hardware, the upgrade is a great bump. I've personally played Forza 7 on the Xbox One X. It looks ridiculous. I've seen a side-by-side of both Forza 7. I've mentioned this before. I've played, well, I didn't play. I've watched it in, hands-on, watching Forza 7 on the Xbox One X, and Gran Turismo Sport on the PS4 Pro. And at a distance, they both look like they're running at native 4K. They do. However, when you're sitting at a nice, substantial distance, you see that, yes, native 4K is more compelling than dynamic 4K. It is what it is. However, because of the art design, whatever they're doing over at Lifting Digital with Gran Turismo Sport, I don't think YouTube videos do the game justice. I believe the game looks incredible. Okay, so when it comes to the best racing game this holiday, I'm going to say that's going to be a wash, because it depends on what you like. I'm a Gran Turismo guy, but I did love Forza Horizon 3. Okay, Forza Horizon 3 is one of those games that will be enhanced with the Xbox One X. All right, so the question: will I be buying an Xbox One X at launch? No, I'm not going to buy an Xbox One X at launch. More than likely, we're going to receive some systems from Microsoft, and we may be doing a box opening with the hardware. But if I was a consumer, I personally play on Xbox One, I play on PlayStation 4 Pro, and I play on PC. And I've yet to grab a Nintendo Switch, but some of our colleagues have Nintendo Switches and they play it all the time. Now, the reason why I personally wouldn't spend $500 at launch for a Xbox One X is because, for the most part, most of the games that are coming from the system at launch are already on the Xbox One, and they're already on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro, okay? So my reasoning has much to do with the software that's going to be on it. What's the main differences? And there's another question that I have that I'm curious to see what Digital Foundry has to say about it, and that is many of the multi-platform games. I am of the opinion that regardless of what Sony does with the PS4 Pro, boosting it and offering some new tech to it that it already has that will enhance it, I still believe that the Xbox One X will offer a slightly better edge with multi-platform games. But then the question has to be asked, is it going to be worth $100 difference? Right? Now, for myself, again, owning most of the hardware that's out there, making a $500 investment, for me, that $500 investment has to be for something that's unique, something I've never played before, and something that feels worthwhile. Most of the games that are going to be enhanced are Titanfall 2s, Halo 5, Forza, Horizon 3, Forza 7 looks amazing, by the way, it looks spectacular, along with Record, okay? I played all these games until I've been blue in the face. We've written reviews for these games. So me going back to see what they look like on the Xbox One X, I wouldn't say it's a waste of my time, but my time is important, and it has to be something that's like fresh, new, you know. And not to say that Sony's doing a better job than Microsoft. I really straddle the line there. However, if there was something that was as compelling as a Horizon Zero Dawn coming to the Xbox One X, and it was exclusively on that system, then I would have to have the system. Okay, so that's how I reason my not investing at launch. But of course, I will have an Xbox One X eventually. But it has to be something that really draws me into it. So here's the question. The question is, Derrick, Xbox One X or more exclusives? What decision do you think Microsoft should have made? We know they made the decision with going with the Xbox One X for more power. That means they had to invest in hardware, they're manufacturing it, and they're pushing out this new hardware November 7th, which is the Xbox One X. And again, it is the most powerful system on the market. Is that a smart move for Microsoft? Now, for all intents and purposes, when you see games running on the hardware, it's gorgeous. Okay, it looks wonderful. But if I'm being honest, and the choice is Microsoft, you either make more powerful hardware, which would be the Xbox One X, or bump that and offer more unique exclusives. I personally am on the side of the exclusives. And not just for the sake of exclusives, but for the sake of offering a unique experience that makes the Xbox One feel unique, set apart, as something that's exclusive. Meaning, when you have a system that plays only certain games, when you have a system that only certain games are played on, there's a different psychology behind that experience. You have to have it, and if you're a gamer at heart, you really are going for those experiences that are worthwhile. And I do believe it's a cop-out when many gamers say things like, well, I don't have a PlayStation 4 because I don't like the games that are on PlayStation 4. I think that's a cop-out. Because I've heard an argument like this once. The argument went, well, on the PlayStation, those games aren't the games that I like. I'm like, really? And so, you know, one can rattle off all of the genre-defining games that are on the PlayStation, and you can go through every genre almost, and Sony's dropping those games on PlayStation nowadays, right? And then you'll hear this argument from those who are the Xbox supporters say things like, well, I just love Dead Rising and Forza and Halo, and those are the games that I like the most. I don't like the games like Horizon Zero Dawn, but they'll say they enjoyed Witcher 3. Okay, I'm not saying Witcher 3. I'm not saying that Horizon Zero Dawn is as good as Witcher 3. But I'm saying if you liked Witcher 3, you're going to love horizons are done. And so I think all too often we, the manufacturers may like this, but I don't think it's wise. We invest too much in one platform and not multiple platforms to receive unique experiences. And I would venture to say most people who love the Xbox exclusively would appreciate Microsoft more if there were more unique games on that system that were exclusive. For example, so I came prepared to offer you guys my ideas on what games would be cool if they were exclusives on the Xbox One X. Now, we know the Xbox One X is coming out in November, and it's unfair to expect them to drop tons and loads of exclusives for that system. Okay, we have to give them a chance to see what's going to happen. However, as Microsoft has stated, they're dropping games such as Crackdown 3, Sea of Thieves, along with State of Decay 2. Those are the real big names that we're hearing to, I guess, sell this system in 2018. All right. Once the hype dies down and that $500 price point becomes a real whoa, okay? And then you're looking at these multi-platform games in comparison to the PS4 Pro. Don't make no mistake about it, please. When you look at those games in comparison to the PS4 Pro, what type of fidelity advantage are we talking about? Okay, that's yet to be determined. However, again, as I stated before, will it be worth $100? So, things that I would appreciate more from the side of Microsoft with their decision making. Okay, they've announced the Xbox One X. It's coming out November 7th. Nothing we can do about that. I'm excited about that. Okay? But if there was a choice between one or the other, please leave a comment below. What would you take? Would you take a more powerful system in the Xbox One X? Or would you take more exclusives, more software on the Xbox One? All right, let's look at it for a second. So, let's go back to the Xbox 360 days and look at how impressive it was that Microsoft adopted what's called Xbox Live Arcade and started offering all of these wonderful games on Xbox Live Arcade. I mean, sure, you could have played some of these games elsewhere, but that environment inside of Xbox Live was so unique and it felt exclusive, even though some of the games were elsewhere. For example, games that Microsoft published, such as Shadow Complex, Explosion Man, two of some of my favorite games on Xbox Live Arcade. In addition to, there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game that was on there. Secrets of Monkey Island was a really cool game. I wrote some of them down. Marvel vs. Capcom was dope on Xbox Live Arcade. In addition to Battlefield 1943 and Joyride was pretty cool as well. So these were games that were on Xbox Live Arcade that were filled with what's like an indie environment where instead of playing your AAA, AA games, you know, on your Xbox 360, you could jump into Xbox Live Arcade and play these, let's call them bite-sized experiences that would today be considered indies, but they were fun and it felt like you had more within the ecosystem of Microsoft to do. So you can play your AAA games, your AA games, and then, hey, I'm about to head over to Xbox Live Arcade and play all these cool, fun little games, okay? And that was truly enjoyable. So going down the list, there was a game that came out a number of years ago on the Xbox 360, near the launch of the Xbox 360, if I'm not mistaken, known as Lost Odyssey. I'm sure many of you who are Xbox diehard fans, you remember Lost Odyssey. And if you remember the conclusion of Lost Odyssey, it was rather open-ended, okay? So where's Lost Odyssey 2? So I thought about that. Lost Odyssey would be a great game to, even if it was a rehash, even if you brought Lost Odyssey back and you redid it and redefined it as a definitive edition and gave it the 4K treatment, that would be wonderful. Now, I think one of the biggest franchises for Xbox, which was abandoned, and I don't believe that was a smart move, was the Fable franchise. The Fable franchise needs to be rekindled. When you think about Microsoft in 2017, from January to today, it's been a drought as far as exclusives are concerned. And believe it or not, while multi-platform games sell the lion's share of software year to year, month to month, year to year, okay? What sets the systems apart are exclusives. And of course, you've seen videos like this and you've seen articles written about this very subject matter on Microsoft and their lack of first party. So I say all that because when you look at this year, you realize that when you're not giving an audience what they want, which are more games, but they really like you and they appreciate what you do, but they're really starving for games, they'll take anything. When you show them a carrot and they're starving, they'll take anything. And I'm not saying that the Xbox One X is anything. That Xbox One X is a monster of a machine. Don't get it twisted. However, I do believe that the allocating of their resources would have been better suited for more software, and really looking at a strategy that offered more software, okay, to build for their future. Okay, now games like Fable, games like Lost Odyssey, whether that's a sequel or a remake, we should have experienced already a Fable game on the Xbox One, and we have not. Okay, one of the best games in the series of Splinter Cell has to be Blacklist. In my personal opinion, I love the first Splinter Cell, by the way, but Splinter Cell Blacklist was hands down the best Splinter Cell Sam Fisher experience to date. My personal opinion. The co-op experience, it was just lights out, amazing what they did with that game. Ubisoft killed it with Splinter Cell Blacklist. That's the type of franchise that was, if you look back, that was a Xbox first. And then it came over to PlayStation, okay? Games like that set consoles apart if they're exclusive. A Splinter Cell Blacklist 2 would be spectacular. And I would venture to say, Microsoft, I would love for you guys to throw the bank at Ubisoft, make Splinter Cell Blacklist an exclusive. And it doesn't seem as though when it comes to console sales that limited exclusives do anything positive for Microsoft. It's either, in my opinion, I believe it should be more or less a full-fledged exclusive, or leave it alone. Not that, you know, the Rise of Tomb Raider benefited from the time exclusivity on the Xbox One. Okay, if you're gonna do a time exclusivity, make sure that you're gonna get really something for it. I don't believe that that series, in fact, the timed exclusivity on the Xbox One of Rise of Tomb Raider hurt the game more than anything. So if you're going to do an exclusive, make it a full-fledged exclusive only on your hardware and on Windows 10. Okay? Some people don't agree with the whole Xbox One, Windows 10 collaboration. I have nothing against that at all. They're both Microsoft's, and hey, more power to it. So when I look at games like Fable, when I look at games like Odyssey or Lost Odyssey or Lost Odyssey sequel, I think those games should come to Xbox and be exclusive. I think of the new of Splinter Cell Blacklist. That game should have been on. That game should come in the sequel form to Xbox One. I think Microsoft should invest in it. That would be a great game. Moving forward, and I've said this before on previous shows, how much I loved Alan Wake. Now Remedy developed Alan Wake. Remedy also developed the recently released Quantum Break, but their best work yet is still Alan Wake, bar none. And Alan Wake is another game that deserves the sequel. Now, Remedy, I believe at this point, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I believe Remedy as a developer, they're now independent of Microsoft, and so they're kind of doing their own thing. But if the relationship is still intact, I believe Microsoft should be speaking with Remedy about a new Alan Wake game. That would be wonderful. The reason why I'm listing these games and rattling off these games is because these are the type of games that I feel would be a very compelling argument for one who's purchasing the new Xbox One X this year or next year, depending on you know, if the system's going to stay at $500. That's a lot to ask for when you're saying this system right now plays the same games that a system that's $399 plays. Okay, does the right now so far Xbox One X? If you're being honest, okay, when you look at games like Horizon Zero Dawn on the PS4 Pro on a $399 system, when you look at Gran Turismo Sport, okay, when you look at some of the games which have not been fully optimized on the PS4 Pro, but they've been given some touch-ups, like for example, Infamous Second Son or Infamous First Light. those games look incredible, whether they're in 4K or not. They scream off the screen with HDR fidelity. It's gorgeous, okay? And so right now, I personally don't see anything on the Xbox One X, okay, that's exclusive or multi-plat that is a clear, okay, that clearly looks and outperforms what I've seen on the PS4 Pro. I've yet to see that. And if I'm wrong, please, in the comments below, put a link. Let me see the video you're talking about compared it to something that's already on the PS4 Pro. I do believe the Xbox One X is all that they say it is. But the proof is going to be in the execution of the software. So these games that I'm rattling off, these are the type of games that could show that uniqueness of the hardware, because you're not going to see these games anywhere else. When you look at games like State of Decay 2, you don't look at that and say, wow, that's a visual marvel, that's amazing. Nor if you look at Sea of Thieves. When you look at Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3, State of Decay 2, you don't say, I want these games because they're going to be in 4K. You don't. You really don't, because of the art design of those games, they don't. Those are not the type of games that make you say, okay, I want to spend $500 on this system. Not at all. Now, a game like Anthem, the guys from BioWare who made Mass Effect, they're calling them the A team who made Mass Effect 2, or excuse me, I should say Mass Effect 2 and 3. They're working on this game called Anthem, which you guys are all familiar with. When they showed Anthem at E3 running on the Xbox One X hardware, wow, it blew me completely away. And my impression was, oh, I'm throwing my money at the screen. I have to have that system. Oh, by the way, that game is going to be a multi-platform. Okay? Games like that take advantage of the hardware. They look amazing. And if uniquely that's placed on one particular hardware, that's where the gamer's going to go. Crysis, Rise, Son of Rome 2. Two games made by the same developer in the form of Crytek, which I believe need to come to Xbox. Okay, now, back in the day, many of you may know this, many of you may not, the developer Crytek, they came upon some hard times financially, but they're still around and they're still breathing. I was of the assumption that one day Microsoft would go in and kind of work with those guys and make them a first-party developer for them, because it makes sense. Crysis is still one of the most beautiful technical marvels on the market. And that series has been out for years. If the next Crysis comes to the Xbox One X, it's going to look fantastic. And if it comes to the Xbox One X, I believe Microsoft should position that game to be exclusive. Same thing with Rise of Son of Rome 2. Okay? I believe that Microsoft should be working with them to make a Rise Son of Rome 2. Now, I mentioned before that my problem with Rise Son of Rome 2 was that the control, the ergonomics, and how you did the combat was a bit wonky. It should have been streamlined better. But aside from that, the narrative was wonderful. The visuals, unbelievable. Okay, and the combat was truly visceral. It was a great full-fledged experience, and I believe that game needs to be nurtured more. And I believe a sequel should come out for the Xbox One X exclusively. Another game that needs to come to the Xbox One X is Sunset Overdrive 2, in addition to Where in the World is Crimson Skies? Okay? There are some games that came out on the Xbox 360 that Microsoft has just completely abandoned, and they need to look back at those games and look back at what the Xbox 360 did so well. They did a lot of things well. In spite of the fact that Microsoft ran into, a brick wall with their hardware dying, red rings of death or whatever, it really didn't matter. Because my friends were still playing Xbox 360s. The games on the Xbox 360 looked amazing. They looked amazing. Those early launch games on the PlayStation 3, which was supposed to be more powerful than 360, when you look at the games that were coming out on the Xbox 360 as opposed to the PS3, sure, the PS3 was a little bit more powerful, but when you have a game that's not on the PS3, like at launch, BioShock, at launch, Gears of War, these games were looking spectacular. I don't need to spend more money on the more expensive hardware. I want to spend my money on these games that look amazing, and that's what Microsoft did with the Xbox 360. So, I think about the idea of more power or more games. And at the end of the day, it's all about more games. And not just more games, but more quality games. Okay? You know, I think the majority of the gamers, if given a survey about hardware or software, what would they take? I think the majority of the gamers would take more software, more unique software that sets the system apart. The Xbox One right now, when you look at the multi-platform games that are on the system, they look great. They look fabulous. So what that Sony has a PS4 Pro that kind of separates even more the fidelity of multi-platform games. It would not matter if games like Scalebound weren't canceled. If games like Found Dust were not given this terrible remaster, which wasn't even a remaster, but given a reboot and looked awesome. If games like Fable Legends was not canceled. If games like Crackdown 3 was not brutally and ridiculously delayed. Those are 4 games that should have came out this year. But for whatever reason, they did not. Okay? And so, when you see Microsoft making this move to Xbox One X, hey, I love pretty games and more power. It's great. But at the end of the day, you say to yourself, wow, this Xbox One X is a very capable Ferrari. With some nice tires on it, wonderful paint job, but it's lacking an engine. But over here, I have a nice Corvette Z02 that's beautiful. Sure, it may not look as sexy as that Ferrari, but it sure does drive faster. Despite the fact that the Ferrari is more powerful, that Z02 drives a little bit faster because it has more games. Okay? Not to say that the PS4 Pro is better, but when you have an environment that has a robust list of exclusives, you have to ask the question, why would Microsoft offer more power and not more games? In fact, recently there was an article on IGN. The article was an opinion piece titled "How I'd Fix Xbox First Party Problems." And within that article, there was some interesting comments, and one jumped off the page at me. It was from a commenter by the name of Hotik, and it reads, "Microsoft needs to start spending some serious cash on something other than hardware. They've spent far too much time, money, and effort focused on the Xbox One X, that now there are very few reasons to upgrade or even purchase an Xbox One X if you don't have an Xbox One yet. They need to focus on fostering talent, growing teams, and opening new studios when and where it makes sense. I don't think forcing a team to work on an IP will yield the best results if that team isn't passionate about the project. Instead of focusing on sequels, reboots, and so on, Microsoft needs to be more welcoming to new and original IPs, which will help define the Xbox platform. Another issue Microsoft faces is that they rely on the same few IPs, which are Halo, Gears, and Forza. The most powerful console in the world doesn't mean squat if it doesn't have the games backing it up. Why spend the money for an Xbox when you can get the same games on other platforms? And that is exactly not just my argument, but it's the consensus all around. We're excited. We're gamers. We're excited about new powerful hardware. Absolutely. You know, it's hard to say no to more power. It's just really difficult to say no to more power. But when that power is not being utilized at all, or let's say for older games, and you're pricing it like a premium platform, it makes you scratch your head. Right now, the climate that we're in with consoles, you can't rely on that. You can't. Nintendo is truly becoming a force to be reckoned with. Nintendo Switch came out in March, and to this date, it's hit, I think they're right over 5 million consoles launched. That's crazy. That is absolutely bananas. So come November 2nd, the Xbox One X is launching, and you'll be able to play the games on the system. And the games, those same games are on PlayStation 4, they're on the Xbox, and they're on the PlayStation 4 Pro. I love more power, but I just cannot help but think about the question of, what would I take more? Would I take more power in the form of an Xbox One X? Would I take more exclusives? But as of now, looking at Microsoft's track record, back to the original question on whether or not I would invest in an Xbox One X at launch for $500 in light of a very affordable Nintendo Switch that's on the market, in light of PlayStation VR, which is on the market. Those platforms are more affordable. There are a lot of unique and exclusive games on those systems that you can't find anywhere else. And so that would be another possible approach to a consumer's spending if they're looking at that price point of $500 and they're saying to themselves, well, I have a PS4 or I have an Xbox One S. Now, these games that are coming to the Xbox One X, can I play them on my Xbox One S? Yes, you can. So I'm excited about the Xbox One X because, again, I'm of the opinion that those who are behind the curtains of, at Microsoft with the Xbox One, again, Phil Spencer in the game, those guys are really, and ladies, they're really confident about what they're doing with the Xbox One X and the future of Xbox. And so we shall see. We're excited. I know you are, so we'll see what happens. But as always, keep it locked here on Game Insider for all your latest gaming news and updates. All right. If you have any comments, want to go back and forth, again, as I mentioned before, leave your comments below. All right. And keep it locked here on Game Insider. All right. See you next time. Take care.